Hello everyone, hello my dear students. My name is Jose Carlos Bustamante. I am one of the
Gary!
teachers.
I was just looking for the sports channel, Gary.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you because, well, I think you have watched my channel, and as you know, this channel is just for you. Whenever you've got doubt, whenever you've got problems, what you can look at this, well, my channel actually, and if I can help clear the air about these topics, I think I'm doing a great job for you. I want to say thank you to one beloved, one dear friend who's just give me a hand every day editing all this product. Well, that is how I call it. And thank you very much, Bruno. Bruno Moquillas studies at secondary field at Colonial Branch, and he's my chief in edition. Thank you very much, son, and you are such a great friend as always. Good. Well, let's start with the new topic of today, which is called conditional clauses. Let's going to make a reinforcement about conditional clauses, but in a different way. Of course, grammar comes naturally, but let's going to play games. Let's going to do something different for you because I want you to understand the conditional clause, but not just by studying grammatically. I want you to get the idea correctly, and I want you to use the conditionals in dialogues. I want you to produce the language by speaking by at the time using the second, the third, the first, the zero, all conditionals that you have been taught. Right? So let's going to start with this conversation, which I really loved it. I'm going to make it bigger so you can take a look. Okay, great. Let's going to start. Here says, well, we've got a family. This is a picture of a family. And we've got a little boy who's crying. And I think the father is kind of upset, it's kind of angry because of something. But well, he says, if he hadn't been so naughty, I wouldn't have shouted at him. Hmm. But the little boy continues crying. And the mother replies and she says, if you were a good father, you would take him to the zoo. So let's going to understand that idea. So the father says, if he hadn't been so naughty, I wouldn't have shouted at him. So the situation is that the little boy had done something. The little boy had, I think he has been in a bad behavior. So that's why the reason is that the father didn't didn't take him to the zoo. And the father shouted at him. And the mother replies, if you were a good father, you would take him to the zoo. So let's go understand the situation. Let's go to understand the situation. And it is a third conditional. Okay, remember, the third conditional talks about unreal situations. Okay, that's why all this picture is just like a supposition. Okay, so this is the way that we are going to be working today. Okay, we are going to be working today, but not grammatically. I want you to understand that I want you to use the conditionals in real situations. Okay, let's move on. We've got this second dialogue, and also it's easy to understand. It says, look, Melissa, the new amusement park opens tomorrow. Why don't we go? Sure, that's a great idea, but what will we do if it rains? And he says, don't worry, if it rains, we'll go to the movies. So remember that we've got conditionals, and conditionals are divided into parts, the condition and the result. But if I start with the condition, I have to start with if, and then I really need a comma in the middle of the sentence, and the result is coming afterwards. But if I start with the result at the first time, okay, at the beginning, the comma is not being necessary because if it's going straight in the middle. Okay, so that's why here we've got a question. It says, what will we do if it rains? Here I've got the result. And here says if it rains, I start with the condition, then I've got the result. And that's why I need a comma in the middle. If it rains, the consequence, the result, will go to the movies. Okay, so we have to be very careful at the time of using the conditionals. Okay, but it's not just hard to understand, it's very simple. Okay, just little by little, when you use the language, when you use dialogues, it's going to be very simple. Let's going to move on. Well, actually, this is a short which I think it's going to be great. It's going to be funny, and you're going to have a lot of fun by asking your friends, also by asking yourself this kind of questions. And the first question would be, what would you do if you had one day left to live? Oh, that's a great question. What would you do if you had one day left to live? Let's go to imagine that it's your last day in life. You're not going to live any longer, so you've got just one day to live. What would you do? Hmm, let's go to think about this now. Well, in my case, in my opinion, think of it. I think that I would reply this way. If I had one day left to live, I will, I would, oh my god, I would for sure eat pollo a la brasa because I loved it. I really loved pollo a la brasa. So that's the only thing that I would do if I had one day left to live. Let's go to another question. What would you do if you found 10 bucks in the street? Let's go to imagine also. Let's go to set up this picture. You're just walking around the street. You look down and you find 10 bucks. $10. What would you do immediately? In my opinion, if I found 10 bucks in the street, I will probably go to the Chinese restaurant. I love Chinese. I really love Chinese. That's why that's my option. If I found a street $10 or 10 bucks, imagine if it is not 10 bucks. Imagine if it's 100 bucks or 1,000 bucks. What would you do immediately? So this is an if conversation card game. So we can also practice it at the video calls conference. Okay, I suggest the teachers practice with you, asking you all these questions. So it is not necessary to learn conditionals by grammar because you can learn conditionals, but just by gaming, by asking questions. The fact of this is that you must speak English and you must produce a language, but of course, using all the resources, using all the tools, and the if conditions, which is the topic of today. Let's going to choose the final question. For example, this one I think it's going to be a good one. Okay, if you had time, if you had time, which other language would you learn? Well, in my case, I love languages. I love languages. So, if you had time, which other language would you choose or would you learn? In my opinion, I would say if I had time enough, I would definitely, I would definitely learn Russian. Of course, Well, I speak English, I speak German, I speak French, but my dream is becoming a Russian speaker because I love that language. So, as you notice, we can also learn about if conditions by gaming, and this is going to be a great exercise for you. I suggest, please go ahead, practice at home. You can ask your friends also, you can also play, and you can also use the Kahoot sometimes to understand much better this class, okay? Let's continue with some other questions. Here we've got plenty of them. We've got, what would you do if today were the last day of your life? What would you do if you saw a ghost, or imagine you in the middle of the night, you wake up, you want to go to the bathroom, you want to drink a glass of water, and suddenly you turn around, oh my god, and you saw a ghost. What would you do? How would you react? What would be your reaction in that very moment? Let's going to think about that. Great. What would you do if you won the lottery? Imagine this time and you won the lottery. $1 million. What would you do? It's a good question. Also, well, I would definitely buy a house for my dad and also my family. I would definitely help people whom I really love, and I would definitely build schools because I love teaching. Right. So these are also questions and exercise that are going to be helpful for you. We'll continue with some questions, a lot of exercises today. Remember, as I said at the beginning of this video, learning conditionals are great, but if you just focus on doing differently. Remember, I can teach you the grammar, but I think that if I teach you how to react, how to get involved into a conditional situation, it's going to be much better, it's going to be funnier. And you're going to love it because you're going to be immersed. You're going to be immersed in this conditional situation. Okay, just one question. What would you do if you forget your bus pass? So you are going to the school, you need to be on time. Oh my God, it's 8 o'clock. And you are in the bus, you are just going in, and my God, where is my Metropolitano card? Oh my God, I forgot it at home. What would you do if you forgot your Metropolitano card? What would you do if you forget your Metro card in that precise moment? In that very moment, what would you do? Mm, what would you do if you forgot your homework? And today the teacher is checking out your homework because you need a record and you forgot it. What would you do? So we've got all these situations, and as I said, it's better, it's much better, it's practical, also it's helpful, it's useful that you use this kind of situations by learning and recognizing the differences among all the conditionals. Okay, so we've got plenty of exercises today. And well, now I'm going to clear the air. Know that karma comes, but naturally. Okay, don't get don't get like, how can I say this? Don't get worried. Don't be concerned on just, oh my God, I have to learn all these rules. Do I have to memorize all these rules? Not at all. Not at all. Just read them, study, and use them. As much as you use the conditionals questions, as much as you use all these conditional information, and we have been already doing, with questions, with games. No, conditional comes naturally. They come naturally. Okay. So, a condition happens if something else occurs. Okay, so a condition is the first part of the sentence, but this condition is going to happen if something occurs, if I've got a result. Okay, so what is a conditional sentence? A conditional sentence, it's a two-part sentence that consists of one clause beginning with if, called the if clause, and the second clause called result clause, the consequence clause. If the if clause is the clause that has the condition, and the result clause is a result or the consequence, as I said. So this is a sentence. The sentence is divided into parts. The first one is a condition, and the second one is a consequence. Is the result. Okay? If there is not a result, there cannot be a condition. Both are attached. They need each other. Okay, so remember that. Great. So here we've got the conditional sentence. What is the conditional? We've got an independent clause and we've got a dependent clause. Okay, we've got examples of sentences. If I save enough, I can go on vacation. You can have dessert if you finish your homework. Okay, so we've got the dependent clause or the independent clause. Third, what is the dependent clause? The dependent clause is the condition, and the independent clause is the result, the consequence. Remember, conditional, conditioned, dependent. Result, consequence, independent. Okay, but both of them need each other. Okay, they do need each other. They are together. They are attached. Okay, don't forget that. Okay, a condition happens, something happens. That's great. So we've got the first conditional. Okay, the first conditional is a sentence that expresses an idea and might happen at some point in the future. We did that. We covered that in the previous video. I think the last week we did that. Okay, so we've got if it rains, I will stay at home. If I wake up late, I will miss the bus. Remember, the first conditional talk about possibilities in the future or in the present. Okay, so we have to be careful. Possibilities. If it rains, I will stay at home. Remember, I start with if and the comma is here. Or vice versa. I will stay at home if it rains. I am just changing the positions. Good. Second conditional expresses impossible situations. Remember, impossible situations. Imaginary situations in the present or future. For example, if I want $1 million, I would buy a new car. Oh, but that is an imaginary situation. I don't know if it's going to happen. If I were you, I would quit smoking. Okay, if I want $1 million, such oh my god, it's a situation that I don't know if it's going to happen. Okay, but I would buy a new car, and the grammar structure is where. Okay, past simple. In this case is where. In this case is want. What is the simple past of win? Want. And would or wouldn't plus a verb. Here, I would buy, I would quit, I wouldn't, negative, I wouldn't buy, I wouldn't quit. So that's the second conditional. Remember, imaginary situations in the present or in the future. Let's going to move on with the third conditional, which expresses unreal past event. So the third conditional expresses unreal past events. For example, imaginary situations also in the past. If I had got a gold medal, I would have been happy. If I had met Susan last week, I would have given her, I don't know, a clock, a car, a house, whatever. That is a situation, imaginary situations in the past, and also expresses unreal past events. What is the structure? The structure is if plus past perfect, had got, had met. Remember, I need the past participle verbs in order to form the third conditional. And I need here the perfect conditional. Wouldn't, have past participle. I would have been, I would have given. If you want to contract, if you want to say, instead of saying I would have been, I would have been, you can do it. Okay, you just contract the real grammar structure and do it, make it shorter. I would have been, I would have been happier. That's all. Okay, so remember, let's go very quickly. Let's going to cover this. First conditional, possibilities in the present or in the future. 2. Second conditional, expresses impossible situations and also imaginary situations in the present or in the future. Third conditional, imaginary situations in the past and expresses unreal events. Okay, expresses unreal events or imaginary situations in the past. And here, this part, which I want to finish, is very important. It says punctuating conditional sentence. Remember, if I start with if, in the middle I need a comma because the consequence, the result is coming. Okay? But if I start with the consequence or result or independent clause, the if it's going to be straight in the middle, so the comma is not necessary at all. Okay? So we have to be very careful. Okay? Here says, just like other sentences in English, a conditional sentence only requires a comma after the dependent clause when the dependent clause is placed before the independent clause. Example, if the baby wakes, I will be frustrated. If you go outside, you can see the storm clouds. When you finish dinner, you will clean your plate. Okay, so we have to be also careful. But here I want to make an emphasis. I have taught you and also I have said that conditionals start with if. Okay, it's great, but we've got exceptions also. We can start with when, provided that, given that, or considering. So we've got exceptions. Okay, for example, you say, when you finish your dinner, you will clean your plate. So in this case, the conditional starts with when. You will clean your plate when you finish your dinner. So one question, is that a conditional? Of course, that's a conditional clause, but we said that we've got exception, and you can also use conditionals with when, provided that, given that, or considering. Okay? For example, after John hit the ball, he ran to the first base. Of course, this is just a clause because after it's also an exception. Okay? I will be frustrated if the baby wakes. Great. Because if is in the middle and this is the consequent. This is the independent clause. Okay. If the baby wakes, comma, I will be frustrated. So we have to be very careful about punctuating conditional sentences. Great. So that is all for today, but I want to finish with something. And here we've got a game. This is a very useful game, and also I love it because you're going to have the chance of having it. Here is the link. As you can see, here is the link. You can go for it. You can play, and also you can practice. Look at this. It's pretty simple. To read the question and select the correct answer. Let's going to start here. Once you are sure you selected the correct answer, press submit. But be sure to do this within the given time. Good, let's going to start. Now there is a little darkness space. I love this game, and you can also play it in this, using this link. Next.
Choose the correct answer.
Great, so we've got like 4 seconds. Says, if you a bag of money in the street, comma, what would you do with it? If you have found, if you found, if you find a bag of money in the street, what would you do with it? What do you think is the correct alternatives? A, B, or C? What do you think? I'm going to give you 3 seconds because it's very simple. Did you find it already? Okay, let's going to go for it. What? Oh my god, I failed. I failed. And he lost his little bone. Oh, I'm sorry.
Choose the correct answer.
Okay, I'm sure I'm going to do this great. I must hurry. Tony will be annoyed if I do not, I will not be, I am not on time. What do you think? Help me. I'm going to give you 3 seconds as always. It's kind of difficult. I don't know. All the time is going on. Okay, this one. Submit.
Este muchacho me llena de orgullo.
Great, I did it great. What is what? Okay, let's go to see what kind of rewards he's receiving. Great, good. I did it. I think I did it well. Last question.
Choose the correct answer.
I didn't realize that John was in hospital. If he was in hospital, I would have paid him a visit. Oh my god, this is too complicated. I don't know what to do actually. Okay, if I didn't realize that John was in hospital. If I had known he was in hospital, I would have paid him a visit.
¿Vieron eso? Eso es ser bárbaro.
Great, I did it great. Good. What is this little dog's reward? Oh my god, it's a bone. Great, he loved it. Okay, well, actually, this is a way of practicing the conditionals too. You can have this link, you can go for it, and also you can practice on your own. And I hope you like this class, and I hope you like this video. And remember, you can learn the conditionals not just by grammar. You can use them in a daily situation with dialogues, with games, and don't look at them as the horrible things. Oh my God, conditionals. No, I mean, conditionals are great and also useful and are very necessary. And of course, it's very simple to understand by dialogues, by gaming, and also by real situations. Well, this is all for me. I hope you like the class and thank you very much. You are the best students. I don't have the pleasure actually of meeting you face to face, but surely I'm going to meet you soon. Thank you very much. I love you very much, and I hope you're just having fun with me, and I have done a great job for you. Thank you, and have a great day.
Es bellísimo.